The dizziness started subtly. At first, I blamed the relentless pace of New York City. I was an assistant to Alpha Keith Titan, a man whose presence filled every room, and my days were a blur of scheduled meetings and urgent demands. But you know, the feeling just didn't go away. It clung to me like the city's summer humidity, a persistent wave of nausea that made the scent of coffee unbearable and the bright lights of my office feel like an assault. I tried to push through, thinking it was burnout or maybe the flu, but deep down, a tiny seed of worry had been planted, and it was starting to sprout, its roots twisting around my heart with a quiet, insistent pressure. My doctor's office was sterile and white, a stark contrast to the swirling chaos in my mind. Dr. Evans had a kind face, but her words landed like stones. "Katherine," she began, her voice gentle but firm, "the tests are conclusive. You're pregnant." My breath caught in my throat. That was shocking enough. But then the doctor added the final earth-shattering detail, pointing to the grainy black and white image on the screen. "And it's twins." The room tilted. Twins. The word echoed in the silent space, a secret I now carried. A secret that tied me directly and irrevocably to Alpha Keith Titan, my powerful, commanding, and completely unaware boss. Panic, cold and sharp, seized me. My life, once so carefully structured, was now a tangled mess of what-ifs. My cousin, Connie Ma, was engaged to Keith. Connie, with her perfectly manicured nails and ambitious eyes, was being groomed to be the Luna, the female leader of the pack. I was just the quiet assistant in the background, the one who made sure everything ran smoothly. How could I ever tell them? The thought of Connie's jealousy, a force I knew all too well, turning into white-hot rage was terrifying. I pictured the disappointment in the Titan family's eyes, the scandal that would erupt. There was no path forward here, not in this life. The decision came to me in the dead of night, while the city that never sleeps hummed outside my window. I had to leave. It wasn't a choice anymore. It was a necessity for survival. For the survival of my daughter Candy and son Ken, the two tiny heartbeats that now depended on me entirely. I would have to disappear from their world, severing ties with the Titans and even with Connie. It was a painful, lonely thought, like tearing a part of myself away. But the alternative, staying, facing the storm, and watching my daughter Candy and son Ken become pawns in a power struggle, was simply unthinkable. I had to run, not just for myself, but for them. And so, I found a new beginning far from New York, accepting a job as manager to Aiden in his IT business in the Cayman Islands. It was a chance to start over, to build a life for my daughter Candy and son Ken and me, away from the secrets and the chaos I left behind. The Cayman Islands were a world away from the steel and glass canyons of Manhattan. Here the air was warm and salty, and the sky was a brilliant, endless blue. I traded my sensible heels for sandy flip-flops and my power suits for breezy sundresses. It was a jarring, beautiful change. With the unwavering support of my two best friends, Aaron and Aiden, I began to build a new life from scratch. They had dropped everything to be with me, their loyalty a lifeline in the turbulent sea of my uncertainty. Together, we rented a small, sun-drenched house just a short walk from the turquoise water, a safe haven for me and my growing belly. The days fell into a gentle rhythm. Aaron, ever the practical one, helped me set up a small online consulting business, allowing me to work from our quiet home. Aiden, with his easy laugh and calming presence, made sure I ate, rested, and didn't spend too much time lost in my worries. They were my pillars, my chosen family. When my twins, my daughter Candy and son Ken, were born, they were there, holding my hands through the exhaustion and the overwhelming joy. They became honorary uncles, mastering the art of diaper changes, midnight feedings, and singing lullabies until their voices were hoarse. They created a bubble of peace for me and my daughter Candy and son Ken. In this tranquil paradise, I almost managed to forget the life I had left behind. I watched my daughter Candy and son Ken take their first steps on the soft white sand, their delighted giggles mixing with the sound of the crashing waves. I taught them the names of the vibrant tropical fish and built towering sandcastles with them under the warm sun. I was no longer Katherine Sung, the stressed assistant. I was just Mom. The fear of Keith discovering their existence was a distant hum, a background noise I could usually tune out. Here, I felt safe, anonymous, and, for the first time in a long time, truly happy. Our small business thrived. What started as a simple consulting firm grew, attracting clients with its efficiency and personal touch. Our success was a quiet victory, proof that I could stand on my own 2 feet, far from the shadow of the Titan Empire. My life was full. It was full of scraped knees, bedtime stories, and the unconditional love of my daughter Candy and son Ken and my friends. I had found a new beginning, a peaceful existence I guarded fiercely. New York, with its towering skyscrapers and complicated memories, felt like a story from another person's life, a chapter I had firmly and thankfully closed. The news came during a team meeting on a sunny Tuesday afternoon. A larger corporation, a major player based in New York City, had made an offer to acquire our flourishing business. For Aaron and Aidan, it was the opportunity of a lifetime, a chance to expand, to see our hard work recognized on a global scale. Their faces were alight with excitement, their voices buzzing with the possibilities. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. The offer was too good to refuse, a logical next step for the company we had poured our hearts into. But it came with one non-negotiable condition. The core team had to relocate to the New York headquarters. The thought of returning sent a shiver of pure dread down my spine. New York wasn't just a city, it was the place where my secrets were buried. It was the home of Alpha Keith Titan. For years I had built a fortress around my heart and my daughter Candy and son Ken, a world where he didn't exist. Now the walls of that fortress were about to come crumbling down. How could I possibly go back? How could I walk the same streets, breathe the same air, and risk running into the one person who could shatter my carefully constructed peace with a single glance? The dilemma was excruciating, pitting my professional responsibility against my deepest maternal fears. My friends, sensitive to my silent panic, tried to reassure me. "It's a huge city, Kat," Aaron said, his tone logical and soothing. "The chances of you running into him are practically zero," Aidan added, "and we'll be right there with you. We won't let anything happen." I wanted to believe them. I truly did. But I knew the truth. Our worlds, once so intimately connected, were not as far apart as I wished. The business world was small, and the Titan name was everywhere. It felt like stepping back into a cage I had fought so hard to escape from. And so, with a heavy heart and a mind racing with anxiety, I packed our bags. I left the sun and the sand of the Cayman Islands behind, trading my paradise for the concrete jungle. As the plane descended over the familiar, glittering skyline, I held my daughter Candy and son Ken a little tighter. They were older now, full of questions and excitement about the big city. I painted a smile on my face for them, hiding the storm that raged within me. I was returning to the source of my greatest fear, walking willingly back toward the man I had run so far to avoid. Every instinct screamed at me to turn back. The meeting was inevitable. It happened in the sleek, glass-walled lobby of the building where my new office was located. I was heading out for lunch, my mind on spreadsheets and deadlines, when a familiar, powerful presence stopped me in my tracks. For a moment, the world stood still. Our eyes met across the bustling lobby, and in his I saw a flicker of shock, of recognition, of something I couldn't dare to name. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat of pure terror. My first instinct was to hide, to turn and run, just as I had done all those years ago. The question screamed in my mind, should I hide my daughter Candy and son Ken? The thought of him discovering Candy and Ken, of him realizing they were his, was paralyzing. What would he do? Would he try to take them from me? Would he disrupt the peaceful life I had fought so hard to build for them? The pressure from my past, the memory of Connie's possessiveness and the rigid expectations of the Titan family came rushing back. They would see my children not as kids to be loved, but as heirs, as complications, as a scandal to be managed. But then, another thought surfaced, quieter but more persistent. As I watched him take a hesitant step toward me, I thought of my daughter Candy and son Ken. They were bright, curious children who deserved to know their story, their whole story. Was it fair to deny them their father? Was it right to live a life built on a foundation of fear and secrets? My friends, Aaron and Aidan, had always supported my choices, but they also encouraged me to find my own strength. They had helped me become a confident mother and a successful businesswoman. Maybe, just maybe, I was no longer the timid assistant who had fled in the night. Ultimately, I knew that my peace could not be found in hiding. True safety wasn't about building higher walls or running farther away. It was about having the strength to face the truth. It was about defining my own terms and protecting my children not with secrets, but with honesty and courage. My happiness depended on my ability to stand my ground, to be the strong mother my daughter Candy and son Ken knew me to be, and to confront the past without letting it destroy my future. The path forward was terrifying and uncertain, but for the first time I felt that the choice was truly mine to make. Earlier that day, I had stepped out of the restroom, smoothing my skirt and preparing to return to my desk, when I heard applause echoing from the main conference hall. Drawn by curiosity, I peeked through the glass doors and saw Alpha Keith Titan standing at the podium, delivering a powerful speech to the shareholders of KT conglomerates. His voice was commanding, his presence magnetic, every eye in the room fixed on him, including mine, though I tried to remain unseen. My heart pounded as I slipped away, hoping he wouldn't notice me. But fate had other plans. Our paths would cross again, and this time there would be no hiding. That evening, the air in the hotel ballroom shimmered with anticipation as the conference dinner began. The clink of glasses and low hum of conversation faded when I entered, my heart fluttering with nerves. Across the room, Alpha Keith stood among the shareholders, his gaze finding mine through the crowd. For a moment, the world narrowed to just the two of us, old wounds and unspoken questions hanging in the space between. As we approached each other, the significance of this meeting settled over me like a gentle weight. The future was uncertain, but in that softly lit room, surrounded by the very people who had shaped our destinies, I felt the first stirrings of hope that something new could begin.